Hello and welcome. I am Lian Buan and this is Rappler Talk. With us today is Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre to talk about the issues and concerns of the very important Department of Justice. Secretary, thank you po sir. Sir, I'll go straight to it. Sir, 1 year at the DOJ, how has it been for you so far?
Well, ang DOJ is I think, the busiest of all departments. As a matter of fact, 24/7, hindi na kami napapahinga dito. And almost all the controversies arose from the DOJ or its attached agencies. Attached agencies like the NBI, the Bucor, the Bureau of Immigration, the LRA, and because of the we have a vacancy rate here in the employment of our staff of about 45%. We need 1,500 plus more lawyers here. And in the next 2 years, we plan to hire 2,000 more. So because of this, we have formed several paralegal groups to help us in the disposition of cases. And maganda naman ang nangyari because as of January to December 2016, about 334,100 or 88.5% of the 377,533 filed criminal complaints are already resolved, and 283,000 of which have been filed in court. So, despite the fact that we are undermanned, we are doing our best by using or by employing paralegals and distributing these cases to our different prosecutors in Metro Manila. And hopefully, yung backlog namin from 12,000 to 14,000, which we inherited from previous administration, we could resolve it by next year.
Sir, with that, what can you say has been your priority for the past year? Ano po yung talagang tinutukan nyo, pinatutukan nyo sa inyong mga prosecutors?
Well, when I was appointed by the President, he gave me 3 marching orders. Sabi niya sa akin, Vit, use all the resources of your office in order to stop drugs, corruption, and all forms of criminality. So, in the beginning, after we assumed office, 20 days after we assumed office, specifically on July 20, 2016, I, through the help of the SAF, took over the operation of the Bucor and raided it. Nagkaroon kami ng digmaang droga, which broke the backbone of the drug syndicates there. And we know that 70 to 75% of all drug transactions in the entire country emanated or are being transacted inside the Bilibid. So, yun lang napakalaking bagay na nun because these illegal drugs coming mostly from China, which are imported or manufactured in the high seas and thrown or jettisoned overboard ships, and then in order that it will be retrieved by the drug lords and their men, this has been stopped. But lately, I heard that again these drug syndicates are very active again in the National Bureau prison, and I am going to attend to it, perhaps by asking to avoid familiarity, because I've already changed the initial batch of SAF troopers. Baka gumamit na rin ako ng Marines from the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Secretary, it begs to be asked, was Senator De Lima prioritized? Yung cases niya po, was it prioritized by the DOJ in your first year?
No, not really. Actually, kaya lang naman na tinamaan si Senator De Lima is because alam naman natin yung focus ng administration ni President Duterte is to rid the country of drugs. Otherwise, had it not been for the President being elected, we are already a narco state. And unfortunately, Secretary De Lima is in the midst of this campaign. We know very well that from the declarations of our witnesses that Secretary de Lima was aware, very much aware of the cabals being constructed by these drug lords. These cabals are much better or grandeur than the those five-star hotel. And we have, of course, you're already aware that we know, we have documented this, that Secretary de Lima was in and out visiting these drug lords inside the New Bilibid prison.
Sir, what is now going to be the dynamics of your investigation into the drug proliferation inside the Bilibid, given that some of the inmates are now discharged as witnesses of the government?
Actually, hindi naman makaka-apekto yung, if ever we are going to use these drug inmates to be our witness under the Witness Protection Program, para sa kaliliwanag, hindi makaka-apekto yan doon sa kaso nila. In other words, if this drug inmates will be used as witnesses against in the new cases to be filed against Secretary de Lima or any other persons, hindi makaka-apekto yan. Mananatili silang, they will still be detained because of the cases for which they are convicted. Kaya let's disabuse our minds, hindi po makaka-apekto, hindi po pakakawalan itong mga drug lords na ito doon sa kanilang conviction.
Sir, the drug inmates that are going to be witnesses, nakakapag-deal pa rin po ba sila ng drugs inside the prison? And paano po natin sila binabantayan?
Binabantayan natin sila. As a matter of fact, hindi lang naman sila eh. Tulad ng nasabi ko kanina, mayroong creeping resurgence. Kaya I'm going to act on this. Resurgence of drug trade inside.
Sir, with the lack of manpower, your war against drugs, and other issues, ano po tingin nyo will be your biggest challenge in your tenure at the DOJ?
Well, sabi ko, it's the fight against corruption. You know very well, and I could not deny this, that there are corruption inside my own DOJ. And also in my attached agencies like the NBI, the Bureau of Immigration, the LRA, and the Bucor. And because of this, these corrupt individuals are already very much entrenched inside our offices. And I've done some transfers of these people in beginning with my DOJ here at the main office. As a matter of fact, I said that I will be a hypocrite if I begin cracking down against the corrupt employees of the other departments when I should have begun with this department. Kaya ang nangyari nun, inumpisan ko dito, meron akong inalis na prosecutors, para lang malaman nila na yung kanilang nest of corruption ay it is not hindi naman ninitiling parang ordinaryong tuloy-tuloy lang kanilang ginagawa. And of course, you know very well when we arrested 1,316 illegal Chinese in this Jack Lam Fontana controversy. This was the first time that it happened na makahuli tayo ng more than 1,300. Before, mga 100 lang or even below 100 ang nahuhuli dyan. Pero ngayon, I believe na yung pagkakalansag natin sa sindikato dun sa Clark ay napakalaking bagay. And we have also would like to commend the NBI for being able to bust the biggest drug syndicate so far. We confiscated around 890 kilos of shabu worth 6 billion pesos. Yan ang pinakamalaking drug haul so far. And this is bigger than the drug seizures of the whole Aquino administration for 6 years.
Sir, let's go to current events. The hottest issue is the martial law. Sir, you wanted the Congress to convene. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, under the Constitution, Congress must convene in joint session within 24 hours if they are not in session. Now, since Congress is in session, walang sinabi sa Constitution natin kung kailan sila magko-convene. So what happened now is that since there is no period within which the two houses of Congress would convene in joint session, separate silang nagkaroon ng resolution supporting the declaration of proclamation of martial law by the President, the Senate by a vote of 17 against 5 ata, and yesterday by the House, by the overwhelming majority of the members of the House, they both passed, the two houses both passed a resolution supporting and not revoking the proclamation of the President.
So you think that's enough, that it's separate resolutions, hindi sila nag-joint session?
Under the Constitution, they are supposed to meet in joint session, meaning to say that in one venue, just like the SONA, the Senate would go to the bigger house where they would be jointly acting on the proclamation of the President to declare martial law and to suspend the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus. Hindi nila ginawa yan. But they have until 60 days from the proclamation within which to do that because they are now in session. So, since they are in session, they have until 60 days to jointly proclaim their support of the proclamation of martial law and suspension of the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus.
So, sir, as
Now,
Secretary of Justice, you really think that they should really hold a joint session?
Yes, because that is what the Constitution commands them to do, to meet in joint session. Pero hindi naman sinabi ng Constitution kung kailan, ano? So still, this is acceptable as long as before the expiration of the original 60-day period, pwede pa silang mag-convene and declare their support. Now, the state of martial law does not suspend the operation of the Constitution, nor supplant the functioning of the civil courts or legislative assemblies, nor authorize the conferment of jurisdiction on military courts and agencies over civilians where civil courts are able to function, nor automatically suspend the privilege of the writ. Ngayon, kahapon, nagpalabas ang Supreme Court through the Office of the Court Administrator, parang inuutusan ng Supreme Court ang judiciary nila sa Marawi City, yung judge nila doon mag-hold ng kanilang session and other functions sa Iligan City. So ako naman nagpadala kahapon ng aking one of the USEC, si USEC Reynante Orsayo, para makapag-coordinate doon so that we could also establish the prosecutors. So we plan to establish 5 panels of prosecutors to attend to these cases because under the suspension of the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus, the military or any police agency has only 3 days within which to file the appropriate action against those arrested. Otherwise, they should be released. So, ang basa ko dito, kung ang courts is no longer functioning in the areas where the martial law has been declared, pwede dito na mag-create din ang martial law administrator ng military courts. Kasi kung wala nang nagpa-function. But so far, this is not yet applicable.
Sir, baka mag-cause lang ng alarm or fear yung the word military court sa mga tao.
During the time of President Marcos, they are called military tribunal. So, pwede ring well, some of the names, pwedeng tawagin mo military tribunals, but we are just discussing this academically. I believe that even under the present provision of the Constitution, military courts could be, or military tribunals could be created in the event that the civil courts no longer function in a certain area during martial law declaration.
Sir, given that so many of this is happening, it's only been days, shouldn't there be a need for the Congress to convene now and not wait for the 60-day period? Kasi ang dami na pong possibilities, ang dami ng implications, so dapat nang i-decide if they're going to revoke it. So they have to meet now. Don't you see the need for them to?
Well, actually, it's the call of both houses of Congress, but I believe that in their own study of the matter, they could just meet separately, and that's what they did, and support the declaration of martial law. Under the Constitution, wala naman walang timetable within which they should meet in joint session. So, as long as these are done within the 60-day period of the martial law, then they could still meet anytime after.
Sir, in a lawyers' forum in February, long before the martial law was declared, you said there could be constitutional crisis if martial law is declared. Could you explain and what changed now?
Well, hindi pa naman that view of mine has not changed. Actually, when I was supposed to speak before the Felconsa, that was the topic of my speech, but because I'm afraid that I might be misconstrued as espousing martial law, so I changed my topic. But afterwards, during the open forum, dun din pumunta yung mga questions ng mga audience.
So sir, why would there be constitutional
there could be
crisis?
what you call a constitutional crisis in this way. The Congress is supposed to meet in joint session within 6 days or within 24 hours if they are not in session. But since they are in session, then 60 days pa pwede na. Ngayon, supposing that they meet, Congress meets, and they issued a proclamation or resolution supporting the declaration of martial law, not revoking it. Because under the Constitution, once Congress revokes the proclamation of martial law, then that's the end of it. Not even the Supreme Court could overrule it. It's very clear in the Constitution that the President could not overrule the decision of Congress to revoke the proclamation of martial law. But of course, the Congress also could support the proclamation of martial law by affirming it in joint session. Although, as of this time, they affirmed it in separate sessions. Now, supposing at this time, Congress, because they affirmed it separately, and at the same time, the Supreme Court, any citizen could file before the Supreme Court to question martial law on the basis of it is not in accordance with facts. In other words, the facts of the case does not support the declaration of martial law. Under the Constitution, they have 30 days within which the Supreme Court has 30 days within which to resolve it. Now, assuming that the Supreme Court resolves the petition and said that there's no need, the declaration of martial law is inappropriate because the facts doesn't support it, what would happen? So there is a constitutional crisis. Here comes Congress saying that we support, and Congress, the declaration of martial law is in accordance with the Constitution, and here comes the Supreme Court saying that that is not in accordance with the Constitution. The facts doesn't support the declaration of martial law. So that's the constitutional crisis which I was talking about and which I was not able to discuss during the Philcon's anniversary.
So, sir, you believe that if a petition is filed with the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court says there's no need for martial law, it's not absolute that it's the SC who will have the last say kasi merong conflict sa Congress.
Oh, kasi ito, this is my position. I believe that once Congress supports the declaration of the President, then the Supreme Court I think, has very little power within which to overrule it. In other words, here, because the martial law declaration is first and foremost the prerogative and power of the president. And we know for a fact that the president acts or declares martial law on the basis of the facts, intelligence reports that is not known to anybody. That's not even to the Supreme Court or to the members of Congress. And here comes the Supreme Court, and here comes Congress, who, on the basis of what they know from the ground, states that the declaration is really supported by facts. So these two departments, the biggest departments of the and most powerful departments of the Philippine government, are aligned in saying that the declaration of martial law is valid and proper in accordance with the Constitution.
Secretary, what to do to avoid a constitutional
And here
crisis?
comes the Supreme Court saying that that is not in accordance with the law. I believe that in case like that, it is almost impossible for the Supreme Court to overrule the two branches of government. Why? Because being the recipient of all these intelligence reports, facts, and ganun din ang Congress, I believe that it is only in cases where the President acted arbitrarily that the Supreme Court could prevail. Ngayon, it is under the facts of this case, under the present situation, walang kwan eh. How could you say that there was an arbitrary declaration of martial law? Ang nakalagay lang naman sa Constitution ay, in order that the President could declare martial law for 60 days, not more than 60 days, kung merong invasion or rebellion. Definitely, there is terrorism and there is rebellion. We know very well that originally this Maote group are just mere terrorists, but when they merged or conspired with the ISIS, they raised the flag of the ISIS and said that they should withdraw allegiance. Merong outbreak of violence, and they wanted to take allegiance away from the Marawi government. So that's definitely a crime involving rebellion. And so, as long as public safety requires it, when there's rebellion and public safety requires it, the President may declare martial law. So, nandiyan naman, nakikita naman natin ang participation, ang pinapatay, yung mga terrorists, pinupugutan ng ulo. So, hindi mo masasabi that the President acted arbitrarily.
Sir Secretary, what to do to avoid the judiciary clashing with the executive and the legislative? What to do to avoid a constitutional crisis? Na sinasabi?
Well, to avoid that, of course, when a case is filed before the Supreme Court, and any time it will be filed, then we should explain to the Supreme Court that the declaration has factual basis through the Office of the Solicitor General, yan ang magdidefenda, yung lawyer ng ng ating government. Kaya't I believe that with the there's, I think, little need for the support to support that there is free rebellion. Napakadali niyan eh, kasi talagang may rebellion eh. At public safety requires it. Hindi totoo yung pag ang question natin ay halimbawa, hindi ba pwede naman kahit walang martial law pwedeng equal natin yung mga Maote, ISIS rebellion na yan? Well, pwede. Pero it doesn't necessarily mean that martial law should not be proclaimed or established. Kasi pwede namang without martial law, pwede nating gapihin yung mga yan. We could defeat them. But with great loss of lives, property, etc. So, kinakailangan lang ang martial law would listen the resistance to quell this rebellion.
Sir, the PDAFRI investigation, You said you're holding exploratory talks with the camp of Janet Lim Napoles. Sir, what does exploratory talk exactly mean?
Well, actually, what I mean is that Attorney Stephen David, the lawyer of Janet Napoles, is informing me of the status of the case they are filing, of what they're going to do next. But of course, this is the call of the camp of Janet Lim Napoles. As of this morning, I asked Attorney David what's now the status of the case is going to file, and he told me that he is rushing the filing. And I also would like to inform you that one of the documents that Attorney David need in the filing of these cases are the General Appropriations Act, copies of the General Appropriations Act from the year 2009 to 2016. Kasi nandyan mo makikita specifically, to be exact, kung ano yung mga appropriation measures na ginamit dyan sa PDAP scam na yan. As of the other day, they already lent this GAA to Attorney David.
Sir, dun sa reinvestigation, the Napoles will be a private complainant, of course.
That is correct.
Sir, dun sa iko-complain niya ba, is it just going to be her NGOs, or is she gonna include other NGOs which transacted with other lawmakers?
Actually, I do not want to deal on the details because I don't want because it's going to be filed here, and the DOJ will be the one to resolve these cases. So I don't want to have any preconceived ideas or to prejudgment about these cases. So I will just wait for the filing of these cases, and when it's here, then we are going to file, perhaps to form perhaps a panel to investigate this.
Sir, you expressed intentions of studying whether Napoles could be admitted into the Witness Protection Program, the WPP, sir.
That's right. As a matter of fact, ang mga principal qualifications dyan is that una-una, Janet Napoles, even without first filing a case before the DOJ or before anybody, could apply for protection under the Witness Protection Program. So once we evaluate this and we find that she is qualified, then they were going to put her under the Witness Protection Program. Now, going back to your question, would Napoles be qualified? Palaging binibigyan ko ng example dyan. Ang unang-unang pinakamahirap dyan is, sabi nila that Janet Lim Napoles is not qualified because he is supposed to be the brains of the PDAP scam. Ang sinasabi naman itong kampo ni Janet Lim Napoles that hindi maaaring siya maging brains kasi high school graduate lang siya. So somebody must have tutored or mentored her in this PDAP scam. So sabi ko ganyan, may dalawa palagi akong example na sinasabi dyan, as between two equally guilty persons, sino ang more guilty? Kasi before you could be admitted into the Witness Protection Program of the WPP, you must not appear to be the most guilty. Ngayon, kung halimbawa, dalawa yung accused. One is a government official and the other is a private person. Halimbawa, si Janet Napoles, the private person. The other is a public official. Now, lumalabas dun sa kanyang statement na siya'y tinuruan lamang. May nagkuhan sa kanya, parang mayroong nag-instigate sa kanya na eto, ganito ang gagawin natin. So, merong co-conspiracy. Merong conspiracy between them. So, my opinion on this that the public officer is more guilty than the private individual. Kasi unang-una, siguradong-sigurado na ginamit niya yung kanyang katungkulan. So, and under the revised penal code, yung pagiging public official niya is an aggravating circumstance, nagpapabigat ng kanyang kaso. So, all other things being equal, assuming that they're both equally guilty, pag pinagbagyang dumaan sa evaluation mo yan, ang opinion ko is that the public officer will be the more guilty as between the two.
Secretary, who's the public officer?
Well, alam naman ninyo yun kung sino, sinasabi ng mga kampo ni Janet Napoles kung sino ang mentor niya. Ngayon, the other one is that
Can you
as
name
between,
him, sir?
sinasabi nung kunya, I think I've read it, that it is Secretary Abad. Ngayon, may isa pa, no? As between two equally guilty individuals, one is the instigator and the other one yung gumawa. Halimbawa, merong taong dalawang nagkakutsaban na pumatay ng isang tao. Yung isa, patay mo si ganon, siya ang nag-instigate, siya ang nagsulsol, siya ang nagbayad, binayaran niya itong si hired killer, and then the hired killer implemented it. Napatay niya. So as between the two, sino ang more guilty? Ang sabi ng Supreme Court, ang more guilty, yung instigator, yung nagsulsol, yung nagbayad. Kasi ang sabi ng Supreme Court, kung hindi mo binayaran, walang makukumit na crime.
So, kasali si Secretary Abad sa mga kakasuhan ng Napoles case?
Well, I don't want to go on that kasi prejudgment yan eh. Basta pag may nag-file sa amin dito, pag-aaralan namin dito, pag nag-file ng application si Janet Lim Napoles, hindi namin masasabing tatanggapin namin yan. Depende yan dun sa kanyang sasabihin, dun sa kanyang affidavit.
Sir, if ever she's admitted to the WPP, ano po yung mga privilege na maibibigay sa kanya? Kasi I think there is livelihood assistance, education for dependents, free hospitalization. What is the government willing to give Napoles under the WPP?
Kung lahat ng mga benefits under the Witness Protection Program na hindi inconsistent dun sa kanyang pagiging detention prisoner. Dapagat, I would like also to disabuse the mind of everybody. Now, once we use Janet Lim Napoles as state witness, na mapapawalang bisa na yung kanyang mga kaso na pending ngayon sa Digang Bayan, hindi po. Tuloy-tuloy po yun ang pag-trial niyan. At kung siya'y makumbik dyan, makukumbik siya. Kasi yung bagong kasong ipafile niya, ay kailanman ay hindi makaka-apekto ng mga pending cases niya ngayon.
Sir, this talks of turning Janet Lim Napoles into a witness protection program witness and then the turning of the drug convicts as state witnesses. Sir, baka people are asking, why is the DOJ trusting people with questionable reputations? How would you answer
Well,
that?
parang sinabi mo yun eh. Doon nangyari yan sa loob ng bilangguan. Do you think that there are other witnesses na maaring mag-witness dyan? Siyempre, pag nangyari yan sa loob ng bilangguan, ang malamang na witnesses mo dyan, di yung mga bilanggo. Kung nangyari yan sa isang meeting ng isang country club, then ang magiging witness mo dyan ay yung mga country club members. Kung yan nangyari yan sa basketball court, ang malamang na witness mo dyan ay yung mga players o yung mga nanonood. So,
sir, in the case of Janet Napoles, you can't find anybody else who can be a credible witness?
isa yun sa mga kwan yun eh. Isa yun sa mga criteria na aming i-examinin. Ang nakalagay dyan is, you should not appear to be the most guilty. And secondly, there are no other witnesses that could testify on the aspect of the testimony of Janet Lim. In other words, if there are other witnesses who could testify on this testimony of Janet Lim Napoles, then Janet Lim Napoles will not be qualified. Kasi one of the conditions yun eh. Dapat wala nang ibang ebidensya o wala nang ibang testigo na makapagpatunay nung sinasabi ni Janet Lim Napoles.
But sir, we have Ben Hurluy. Isn't he enough at this point?
Well, I would not like to venture on that kasi sabi ko nga mag-advance ako eh. We will be prejudging or the case on how we are going to resolve it. So I'd better get it kasi yun naman kay Janet Lim Napoles, hindi naman lahat ng hindi naman lahat ng sasabihin niya mapapatunay ni Ben Orlu eh. So, yun ang gagawin natin.
Sir, when it comes to jurisdiction, if cases are going to be filed against high-ranking officials of the government, it's going to be the Office of the Ombudsman. Are you going to make a formal parang motion to attain jurisdiction, or susundin niyo po na itatransmit niyo sa Ombudsman when you're done with your findings?
No more. Actually, mayroon na kaming diyang memorandum of agreement with the Office of the Ombudsman eh. Kaya under that agreement, both the Department of Justice and the Ombudsman have concurrent jurisdiction to preliminarily hear these cases. In other words, pwedeng ang preliminary investigation would be done by the Ombudsman and pwedeng to be done by the DOJ. But once we finished with our investigation, then the Ombudsman having the primary jurisdiction over this case of plunder or any other, usually against public officials, then we are going to turn it over together with our findings. Kaya lang naman hindi namin nagawa yun. Hindi, ginawa din namin yun doon sa cases ni Secretary de Lima. But with respect to the violation of the comprehensive drugs, may very specific doon that the court with the jurisdiction is the RTC, not the Sandigan Bayan. So it's only when these public officials' cases will fall under the jurisdiction of the Sandigan Bayan would Ombudsman have the primary jurisdiction over the preliminary investigation of these cases.
So, sir, you recognize that the Ombudsman Conchito Carpio Morales would have the last say on the PDAF cases?
Well, yes and no. Yes, because we are going to turn it over to them for preliminary investigation, being the one with primary jurisdiction. But there is question here that under the Witness Protection Program, kami lang ang makaka-admit ng witness doon. So, I believe that once we name a certain individual as under the protection of the WPP coverage, the courts, andun nakalagay yun must respect it. So, once if ever a certain witness is determined to be under the protection of WPP, the courts, meaning to say including the Sandigan Bayan, must respect it.
Sir, let's go now to the issues of extrajudicial killings. People would say that the rule of law is being diminished in the killings under in the name of the war on drugs. How would you react to this po?
Hindi naman totoo yan. Actually, the perception is that even here in the Philippines, but more so sa United States and even sa European Union, so sinasabi nila doon na because of this war on drugs, people have been killed, 9,000, 8,000 people have been killed. But ang problema sa atin is that there are so much misinformation, disinformation about these killings. Actually, as of a few months ago, while you are already talking about 9,000 killings, mga 2,500 lamang ang connected doon sa war on drugs. All the others, ang problem is that they are being classified as victims of the war on drugs na hindi naman totoo So, especially Rappler, Inquirer, and mainstream media. Ganun ang palabas nila Pero, ang ganyan din so when I was in the US during the past, this month, hindi pa natatapos I was able to speak there and be the mga 4 times in-interview ako doon, and even invited ni Ambassador Hubbard, tsaka Maisto, Hendrickson. Ganyan ang perception nila Sabi ko sa kanila, it's over breakfast Sabi ko sa kanila, have you ever wondered why the Filipinos who are supposed to be the affected by this war on drugs are still supporting the president? 8 out of 10 of the Filipinos are supporting the president. Have you ever wondered why in our neighboring countries in Southeast Asia, whenever the president visits Thailand, Vietnam, Hong Kong, parang ang tingin sa kanya candidate pa rin siya during the elections before he won, na talagang he is being idolized, and mayroong full support sa kanya ang mga tao. And the same is true in his trips to the Middle East. Bakit dito lang sa Amerika? Ganyan kayo. Samantalang di man lang kayo nakakatikim kako ng epekto ng war on drugs ni Presidente. Ang unang-unang dapat natin tanungin, yung mga Pilipino dito sa Pilipinas na naapektuhan ng kanyang war on drugs. But people like him. People is not afraid of this war on drugs. Kaya mostly, I believe that these are misinformations, disinformation. Kaya hindi ako naniniwala ako dyan. After the meeting, one of the ambassadors na nandun, unang-una, gusto nilang when I was still in New York, gusto nilang si Secretary de Lima kung pwede raw magkaroon ng bail. Sagot ko lang niya simple. Because it is not in the executive department. You should address your concern to the judicial department. And then after that breakfast meeting, one of the ambassadors put me aside and told me, Secretary, pwede bang mabigyan natin ng kahit house arrest na lang si Secretary de Lima? So, parang may ibang agenda yung mga taga-Amerika eh. Bakit ang kwa namin dun is yung war on drugs, and yet ultimately after our discussion, mahaba din yun eh. Siguro mga more than almost 3 hours eh. Bigla mong bubulong sa akin na kung pwede si Secretary de Lima magkaroon ng house arrest. Hindi, ibig sabihin nun, ang tingin ko dun talagang bias na sila eh.
Sir, going back to the numbers, sir, let's say it's 2,500. Isn't that a cause for concern pa rin, sir, that 2,500 have been
Alam mo naman, no? I don't believe so. Kasi nakikita ng tao eh. Otherwise, kung talagang cause of concern yan, kitang-kita mo after the election, dapat yan talagang downward ang rating ni Presidente. Pero hindi. Despite all your adverse media publicity from the mainstream media, ang nakakabawi lang si President Duterte dun sa social media.
Sir, I'm going to go back to the Prosecutors Convention in Clark last April. President Rodrigo Duterte brought out his narco list po, and then he said something like, sa dami ng mga taong nandito sa narco list ko, tingin nyo ba kaya nating i-prosecute to lahat? Sir, you are a lawyer, you are the head of prosecutors. How do you feel kapag ganun po yung line of words ng Pangulo na kaya ba natin tong i-prosecute lahat?
Well, we are trying our best, and katulad ng sadly, we are very much undermanned in the Department of Justice. Under the law, we could hire as much as almost 4,000 prosecutors, but meron kaming vacancy rate of 45%, which in the bottom figure would be about 1,500 prosecutors. So yan ang kakulangan namin kung bakit talagang we're hobbled by lack of prosecutors. In the next 2 years, we're supposed to hire again an additional 2,000. So lalong lalaki yung aming vacancy. Now, it was aggravated during the previous administration where only very few fiscals or prosecutors have been appointed. Meron ng isang pagkakataon dyan na yung isang fiscal nag-apply several years before, and then hindi lumalabas yung kanyang appointment as a prosecutor. Nag-apply naman siya later to be appointed as judge. You know what? Natanggap niya yung kanyang appointment magkasabay as a public prosecutor and as a judge. So siyempre, kinuha niya yung judge. But ganun nilalarawan lamang niya yung gaano katagal ang pag-appoint ng mga nakaraan. So now that more or less the salary grade of our prosecutors are more competitive with the private sector, hopefully madagdagan ito, at maganda nga, I welcome the big passing percentage of the recent bar examinations where more than 3,000 new lawyers taking their oath. So, pwedeng kunin namin lahat yan sa Department of Justice.
Secretary, as a last note, what can you tell the Filipinos to assure them that under your time, justice will be upheld in this country?
Tulad nung sinabi ko nung una, under my watch, the Secretary of Justice will not engage in a selective prosecution. So, and you could be sure that we will be intensifying our war against drugs, against corruption, and all forms of criminality. So I appeal to the public that in the declaration of the President dito sa martial law, sana suportahan natin. And even you could, even the people, the Muslim brothers in Mindanao are fully supportive of the President's declaration of martial law. So hopefully we'll be one on this, because once we attain peace in Mindanao, I believe that economic progress of the Philippines will be just around the corner. Actually, sa ngayon, hindi lamang natin nalalaman, pero talagang yung ating economic progress ay napakalaki. And this has been acknowledged by our world economists. And even by the some people, I've talked to the people in the NEDA, na napakaganda niya ngayon ng ating economic programs.
We're going to have to end on that for now, Secretary. Thank you so much for giving us the time. That has been Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre. This has been Rappler Talk. Thank you for watching.